The first thing I heard when the anesthesia wore off wasn't my newborn daughter's cry or my husband's relieved voice. It was shouting, the kind that penetrates even the thick fog of post-surgical drugs. Through the haze, I could make out security guards, raised voices, and the unmistakable shriek of my mother-in-law, Patricia Thornton, demanding to know where her baby was. "Ma'am, you need to calm down," a nurse was saying firmly. "You're disturbing other patients." "Don't tell me to calm down. That woman is unstable. I have papers. Legal papers." My eyes flew open, maternal instinct overriding the pain medication. Where was my baby? Where was Lily? "She's awake," someone said, and suddenly my husband James's face appeared above me, his eyes red-rimmed and furious in a way I'd never seen before. "The baby," I croaked, my throat raw from intubation. "She's safe. She's in the nursery with a security guard." His jaw clenched. "Amelia, my mother, she tried to take her. While you were still in surgery. She showed up with custody papers." The room spun, and not from the medication. "What?" But I knew. Deep down, I'd known this was coming. I'd felt it building for 9 months, seen it in every calculating glance, every boundary crossed, every casual threat disguised as a joke. What I hadn't expected was for Patricia to make her move while I was literally cut open on an operating table. "My name is Amelia Thornton, and I need to take you back 11 months to understand how we got to this moment." To me, barely conscious from an emergency C-section, finding out my mother-in-law had tried to legally kidnap my hours-old daughter. James and I had been married for 3 years when we decided to try for a baby. We were stable, happy, and ready, or so we thought. What we weren't ready for was Patricia's reaction to our pregnancy announcement. "Finally," she'd exclaimed at the family dinner where we'd shared the news. "My baby is having a baby." The possessiveness in her tone should have been my first warning. But I was too happy, too naive, too eager to believe that becoming a grandmother would soften the woman who'd spent 3 years making subtle digs about my career, my family, and my worthiness to carry the Thornton name. Patricia Thornton was old Dallas money, the kind of woman who still referred to the Civil War as the recent unpleasantness, and thought anyone without a country club membership was practically homeless. She'd married into even older money and spent her life cultivating an image of Southern perfection that was as fragile as it was false. I was everything she wasn't: a first-generation college graduate from a working-class Hispanic family, a criminal defense attorney who spent more time in courtrooms than cotillions. James's love for me was, in her mind, a temporary insanity that grandchildren might cure. "You'll quit working, of course," she announced at that same dinner, not asking but stating. "Thornton women don't abandon their children to strangers." "I'm planning to take maternity leave, but I'll go back to work after." "Nonsense. I'll speak to James about it. Some things are simply non-negotiable when it comes to raising a Thornton heir." James squeezed my hand under the table. "Mom, Amelia and I will make decisions about our child together." Patricia's smile never wavered, but her eyes went cold. "Of course, dear. I'm just trying to help. After all, some people weren't raised to understand these things. Some people. Meaning me. Meaning my family who had worked multiple jobs to put me through school, who celebrated every victory with homemade tamales instead of champagne brunches. The pregnancy progressed, and so did Patricia's invasions. She showed up unannounced with decorator catalogs for the nursery, all featuring themes so aggressively pink and precious they looked like Barbie had vomited. She scheduled appointments with approved pediatricians without asking. She bought furniture we didn't need and clothes in sizes our child wouldn't wear for years. "I'm just excited," James defended weakly after another ambush visit. "She means well. She rearranged our entire nursery while we were at my prenatal appointment," I pointed out. "She literally moved furniture." "That's not excitement. That's marking territory." The breaking point came at my baby shower. Patricia had insisted on hosting, overriding my sister Maria's plans with the efficiency of a hostile takeover. The guest list read like a who's who of Dallas society. Women I'd never met who spent the afternoon discussing their nannies and comparing push presents. My family huddled in a corner, clearly uncomfortable among the pearls and pretension. My mother approached me during a quiet moment, worry creasing her face. "Mija, that woman, your suegra, she's telling people she's worried about you. Says you're showing signs of instability." "What?" I nearly dropped my punch glass. She asked Mrs. Henderson, loud enough for everyone to hear, if postpartum psychosis runs in Mexican families. Said she's been documenting concerns for the baby's safety. I found Patricia holding court near the gift table, regaling her audience with stories about poor Amelia's difficulties adjusting to pregnancy. Of course, with her background, she doesn't have the same support system we do, she was saying. That's why it's so important for family, real family, to step in when needed. Patricia, I interrupted, my lawyer voice cutting through her performance. A word, her audience scattered. We faced each other by the French doors overlooking her manicured garden. I know what you're doing, I said quietly. The comments about my mental state, the documentation you mentioned. You're building a case. Her Southern Belle mask slipped for just a moment, revealing something sharp and calculating underneath. I don't know what you mean, dear. I'm simply a concerned grandmother looking out for my grandchild's welfare. Your grandchild, not your child. We'll see about that, she said, the words so soft I almost missed them. Then louder. Hormones can make us paranoid, Amelia. Perhaps you should discuss these feelings with your doctor. I'd be happy to come to your appointment. Make sure you're getting proper care. That night, I did 2 things. First, I told James everything. Not just the baby shower conversation, but the pattern I'd been seeing for months. He was horrified but skeptical. Surely his mother wouldn't actually try to take our baby? Second, I downloaded a recording app on my phone. The recording started innocuously enough. Patricia joking about how she'd raised James and could certainly do a better job with this baby. Comments about my work schedule being neglectful. Observations about my family's different values. Then they escalated. You know, there are studies about postpartum depression in career women, she said during one visit, not knowing my phone was recording in my pocket. Especially those who come from unstable backgrounds. The stress of trying to be something they're not. My background isn't unstable, Patricia. Oh dear, I didn't mean it that way. But statistically, women without proper support systems, women whose mothers worked, for instance, are more likely to harm their children. It's just science. It wasn't science. It was groundwork. The most damning recording came 2 weeks before my due date. Patricia had been drinking at Sunday dinner, her usual veneer of control slipping with each glass of wine. The thing is, she slurred slightly, some people just aren't meant to be mothers. But that's what family is for. When Amelia inevitably fails, and she will fail, I'll be ready. I've already spoken to my lawyer about options. Emergency custody, temporary guardianship. There are ways. One way or another, I'll make sure that baby is raised properly. By a real Thornton. Mom, that's enough, James had snapped, finally seeing what I'd been trying to show him. Oh, darling, Patricia laughed. I'm just being honest. We both know Amelia isn't cut out for this. Look at her, she can barely handle pregnancy. What happens when she has a screaming infant and a demanding job? She'll break. And when she does, I'll take that baby one way or another. I'd never been so grateful for technology in my life. Labor came fast and hard at 38 weeks. What started as mild contractions at breakfast became a medical emergency by lunch. The baby was breech, her heart rate dropping with each contraction. The doctors made the call, emergency C-section now. James held my hand as they prepped me for surgery. I called my mother, he said. She's on her way. Tell the nurses. I managed between contractions. She's not allowed in the OR or recovery. Just you. Amelia. Promise me, James. Something's not right. She's been too quiet lately. He promised. But neither of us anticipated what Patricia had planned. While I was in surgery, fighting through complications that turned a routine C-section into a 2-hour ordeal, Patricia arrived at the hospital with her lawyer and a stack of papers. Emergency custody petition, filed that morning. Her claim? I was mentally unstable, a danger to my child, and she needed immediate temporary custody to protect the baby. The nurses, thank God, weren't having it. They called security. Security called the hospital's legal department. By the time I was in recovery, the situation had escalated into a full confrontation in the maternity ward hallway. That's when I woke up to shouting and demands and my mother-in-law screaming about her baby. She actually tried to get into the nursery, James told me, his voice shaking with rage. Security had to physically stop her. She kept waving those papers, saying she had a legal right. A knock on the door interrupted us. A woman in a suit entered, the hospital's legal counsel. Mrs. Thornton, I'm Sarah Palmer. I need to make you aware of the situation. Your mother-in-law has filed an emergency custody petition claiming you're mentally unfit. The good news is, without evidence of immediate danger, no judge will grant it. The bad news is, she seems very determined. I have evidence, I said, reaching for my phone with my good arm. Months of recordings, including her stating she'd take my baby, one way or another. Sarah's eyes widened as she listened to Patricia's drunken confession. This is conspiracy. Premeditated attempt at custodial interference. Have you spoken to a family lawyer? I am a lawyer, I managed. Just not family law. Well, you need one. Now. The next 12 hours were a blur of pain medication, first moments with my daughter, and legal strategy. My sister Maria, bless her, took the recordings to 3 different family lawyers until she found the best. My mother stationed herself outside my room like a guard dog, turning away Patricia's every attempt to enter. But the real hero was James. When he heard the recordings, all of them, months of his mother's calculated campaign, something fundamental shifted in him. The man who'd always made excuses for Mom's way finally saw the truth. She's sick, he said, holding our daughter while tears ran down his face. She's actually sick. This isn't overbearing or excited. This is dangerous. 2 days later, we were in family court. I was still in a wheelchair, still healing from surgery, but I wasn't missing this. Patricia sat across the courtroom with her lawyer, wearing pearls and her best wounded grandmother act. It lasted exactly until the judge heard the recordings. I'll take that baby one way or another, echoed through the courtroom. Patricia's face went from composed to panicked as her own voice outlined her plans to undermine my mental health and take custody. Your Honor, her lawyer attempted. My client was simply expressing concern. Your client, the judge interrupted, was expressing clear intent to commit custodial interference. She filed false claims about Mrs. Thornton's mental state while Mrs. Thornton was literally in surgery. She attempted to access a newborn without parental permission. This is not concern. This is harassment. The emergency custody petition was dismissed. But we weren't done. Your Honor, my lawyer stood. We're requesting a restraining order. Mrs. Patricia Thornton presents a clear threat to my client and her child. Agreed, James said, standing. Everyone turned to stare. I'm James Thornton, the respondent's son, and I'm formally requesting a restraining order against my mother. She's threatened my wife and attempted to take our child. I have to protect my family. The sound Patricia made wasn't quite human. You can't. I'm your mother. That's my grandchild. You need me. No, James said quietly. We don't. The judge granted the restraining order. Patricia couldn't come within 500 feet of me, James, or Lily. She was removed from the hospital's visitor list. She was effectively exiled from our lives. The extinction burst was spectacular. Emails to James's work. Letters to our home. Flying monkeys in the form of relatives calling to say we were overreacting. Social media posts about grandparent alienation. She even hired a PI to follow me, looking for evidence of the mental instability she'd invented. But we held firm. James changed jobs to escape the professional pressure. We moved to a house with better security. And slowly, we built a life free from Patricia's poison. Lily is 2 now. She's bright and fearless and surrounded by people who love her without conditions or ulterior motives. My parents see her every week, filling her life with stories and songs in 2 languages. Maria spoils her rotten. James's sister, who cut contact with Patricia years ago, finally feels safe enough to be in our lives. Sometimes I wonder if Patricia watches us from afar. If she sees the family photos on social media, from accounts she's blocked from, and realizes what her obsession cost her. She could have been a grandmother. Instead, she's a cautionary tale I tell other mothers. Trust your instincts, document everything, and never apologize for protecting your child. The recording app is still on my phone. I've never deleted it. It's a reminder that sometimes the call is coming from inside the house, or in this case, from inside the family. But it's also a reminder that we survived. That when push came to shove, or when grandmother came to kidnap, we fought back and won. Lily will grow up knowing she's loved, wanted, and protected. She'll know her worth isn't tied to her last name or her grandmother's approval. And she'll know that sometimes, the best gift you can give your child is the strength to say no to anyone who tries to take them. Even if that someone gave birth to your husband. Especially then.